Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gail Carson, your host for Women in Business, a show that celebrates women and their accomplishments as entrepreneurs or senior managers. As a woman business owner for over 5 decades, I take great pride in bringing these interviews to you. I'm also president of the SOB clubs, so if any of you are interested in going to one of them in your area, please email me at Gail, that's Gayle Carson, 13 at gmail.com. Well, my guest today is Natalie Stillman, and she's been helping her clients reach their financial goals for over 20 years. Her expertise in the financial services industry, coupled with her people skills and common sense approach to life in general, make her an invaluable source to her clients. She is an in-demand public speaker throughout San Diego County, addressing the questions surrounding the mysteries of transitioning into retirement. She raised 3 children as a single parent, and in 2008, she was honored as one of 50 best moms in San Diego. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carson.
Well, I have to start off by saying probably that is not an honor I would have received as raising 3 children, although I raised 3 children, but one of the best moms. Now, what did you have to do to get that done?
Actually, I didn't do anything. It was an essay that my son wrote when he was with the 3rd or 4th grade. And so he actually, to be honest with you, I think he just wanted to win the laptop. That's what motivated him.
Well, but, he had to have some very nice things to say about you, so you should be very, very proud of him. That's wonderful.
Oh, I am. I have it framed. It's on the wall.
Well, retirement is a big issue today, and people wondering, because all the advertisements that come on and say, do you have enough money to retire? Are you ready for retirement? So how do you help people transition into retirement? I mean, is it something people look forward to, and is everybody excited about the prospect of not having to get up and go to work? I know that's not me. I mean, I'll never retire. I just love what I do, and so I'm just going to get up and do it every day I can. But what do you find with most people?
It's so funny you say that, because as I was preparing to be on your show, I was thinking about you specifically, because I don't think you will ever retire. And it's so fun. So many people really, they retire from their profession and they just move on to really the things that they love to do. And they're more busy than ever these days. So retirement really has changed. It really doesn't matter, though, if you are a secretary, a laborer, a CEO. We do all look forward to that day that we retire. We're not in the rat race anymore, and we can sleep in or travel the world or relax on the beach, and just take some time to enjoy life. So people are happy about the prospect of retiring, but the problem, and what I can help people with, is that people don't think about the reality of not bringing home a paycheck. In other words, when we stop working, we stop earning money. And the only money most people can be guaranteed to receive is Social Security. And I think we both know nobody's going to be happy with just receiving a Social Security check in retirement. So, people think that they're participating in their retirement plans at work, and then they kind of ignore the idea of retirement until it's upon them. And so that's where I come in, help them to do more solid planning for when that day comes, and they don't just sort of idly make that monthly deposit into their retirement account thinking that everything's going to be great. So the key here is just being proactive and planning ahead.
Well, that's so true. And I think that, at least from the people I know, some of the people are required to retire at a certain age. I mean, their companies force them to retire at a certain age, although it is getting a little longer at this point. But I was just talking to someone from the UK the other night, and they actually start transitioning their people at 52 and 55 and 59. And I mean, it's rare.
Really young.
Yeah. So I said, I think things are going to be changing even in England. But what do you think is the age that most people look to retire at?
There's really a paradigm shift with regard to the age of retirement these days. People used to retire, like you said, even in their mid to late 50s and in their early 60s. And then there was kind of a shift, Americans began living longer. We began to be more cognizant that we were living longer. And, Social Security increased the normal retirement age. And so when people retired a little bit later, maybe in their early 60s to mid 60s, they were receiving maybe a lifetime income in the form of pensions and, their Social Security. But, these days people are living even longer. There was an article in National Geographic, and it talked about the first person who will live to age 150 has already been born. And I'll tell you, Gail, it blew my mind thinking of that. Hopefully it won't be me. But that is just, that's such a long period of time. I mean, people will, through their retirement years, as many years maybe as they were working. So that's something that needs to be considered. People are deciding, what age they want to retire if they have that choice, if they're not forced into retirement.
It's true. I know that most people who look forward to retirement are usually people who are not happy in their job. I mean, they can't wait to do all the things that they want to do, which I guess is why I don't worry about that, because I do what I want to do every single day, and I love what I do. Mm-hmm. So when I think, well, now, what would I do today if I wasn't doing this? And I can't think of anything that I would be doing that I don't already do. So I think
that's a wonderful place to be.
It is. It really is. But you were a single mom. I don't know what you were doing at that time, but what inspired you to specialize in this particular area?
That's an interesting question. So I started out as a stockbroker, so about 22, 23 years ago, and I worked primarily with people who were retired already, high net worth individuals who lived off of their income from tax-free municipal bonds. So my first insight into income generation would have been that. And the biggest complaint I used to hear from them, this was in the early 90s, was, Natalie, I have to buy twice as many bonds now to generate the same income that I did 10 years ago. The interest rates back in the 80s were substantially higher. And so that was kind of an interesting thing for me to hear about how you have to adjust your investments to make up for changes in an environment that you have no control over. And then more recently, I met a gentleman. I was actually at the Del Mar Fairgrounds with some friends and families, and I spent quite a bit of time talking with one of the grandparents, and I just met him as Jim. We talked about kids and life in general, and sometime later I was speaking with his kids, who were my peers, and they mentioned that Jim had been the CFO of a Fortune 100 company for much of his career, and that really caused me to pause. Because here I've been speaking to this gentleman for, half of the afternoon, and he was simply a grandpa. And that's who he was. And I thought about what would it have been like to have met him 20 years earlier when he was the CFO of this company. We identify ourselves. We introduce ourselves. We think about ourselves in such a way when we're in a professional career. And how do you make that transition into retirement? I think what I learned from that, or what that promoted in my mind, is that retirement really is a life-changing transition for most people. They look forward to the idea, but their life changes dramatically. It's really about creating a new normal. And for me, I've been helping my clients in that field for so many years, but not understanding the more emotional aspects of it, the life-changing aspects of it. And that's really what got me excited about working in the field.
So what are some of the unexpected issues that come up when people transition into retirement then?
I think that people are so used to thinking about the return on their investment and not realizing that retirement planning is really risk management. For a planner, it's, fiduciary standards. It's not simply about, finding investments that are suitable for clients. It's comprehensive planning to provide a roadmap for people so that they can kind of see the big picture. Some of the questions I think that pre-retirees and retirees should be asking themselves are, is my income going to last as long as I do? And, why should I care about what long-term care planning is? What is it? So many people don't know. Maybe start educating themselves about that kind of planning. And, a lot of people ask, well, how much money, Natalie, should I keep in the market? And how much should be converted to cash flow? And can I guarantee any of this planning? It's really at this stage of the game that the question that needs to be answered by people is, what's more important to me? Is it earning the highest rate of return, or is it keeping the money that I earn?
Well, and that brings me to a question about age. I mean, how is financial planning for retirement at age 60 different than financial planning for retirement at age 30? And should I be thinking about it more towards the age of 30, or should I be looking at it at the age of 50 or 60?
That's such a good question. I would love it if 30-year-olds would really do serious retirement planning, but the truth is they just don't. You look at a 30-year-old and try to talk to them about long-term care planning, and their eyes glaze over, and they don't have any idea what you're talking about. So, planning for retirement at age 30,
paycheck to paycheck, right?
Yeah, and caught up in kind of that rat race that we talk about, right? So, you've got the millennial generation, and they really are good savers. I gotta hand it to them. They're pretty. They seem to be on a demographic basis pretty well balanced individuals. Community is important to them, but also being prudent with with what they earn. But a 30-year-old really just needs to start getting in the habit of, setting money aside. It doesn't have to be in a retirement plan. I think that we're so programmed. All money has to go into a 401k or to an IRA. It really doesn't. People don't realize when they hit retirement, they're going to be hit with taxes on all that money. So a 30-year-old really has some time to save some money and pay taxes on it now, and then not have to worry about the taxes later, like a Roth IRA. Love them. I just love them. So I really encourage younger people to do things like that. Now, when you're 60 and you're jumping into your retirement planning, it's a whole different ballgame, because now you're in what we call kind of the retirement red zone, if you will. This is a time where you really are looking to preserve what you have saved, and you're moving into not the accumulation phase like the 30-year-old, but the distribution phase. You're going to have to start doling out the amounts that you have saved. So how are you going to do that in a manner consistent with you living a long, happy, healthy life? That's the difference.
Well, that's true. Now, let me ask you a question, because this is a show about women in business. So how do you get your business, and what kind of obstacles have you gone through to do what you do? I mean, selling people on, retirement funds and retirement income and planning, that they don't even want to think about that. It just seems like, oh, if I think about that, I'm on the way down, So
Right.
What are some of the struggles that you went through? You were a stockbroker, so in a way it was similar, because you had to, again, sell your services to people. What have you run into in starting your business?
That's another great question. I think that initially what you run into when you're first starting out is people don't know you. They don't understand what level of trust or integrity that you have. And so it's really just getting to know people. And the longer you're in business, you're getting referrals from your trusted clients. And so things do get easier in that respect. But I think just making decisions for yourself initially, who you are, the type of business you're going to run. I've always come from the place that this is my career. I'll be doing this until I retire, and I'm not going to take shortcuts, and I'm not going to do things that I can't look somebody in the eye and say, yes, this is the plan that we have, and this is why we made the decisions that we made. And look, everything is, even though things don't always work out exactly how you want them to, everything is on the up and up. So I think that any woman, especially starting out in business, run your business with integrity. Don't be afraid ever to people in the eye. If you have to give them bad news, tell them the truth.
Isn't that interesting how integrity is such an important word, and so many people don't have it? It's I think it's one of the
unfortunate.
crucial. Yeah, it is. But I think I'm so impressed with the people I interview, because they do have integrity, and that's why I'm so happy to bring them to my audience, because they do represent the best of the best. But are there life events that happen to people that you all of a sudden hear from them that trigger this kind of planning? Talk a little bit about the birthdays and how that triggers planning.
Yeah, it's, as people get older, when they have these hallmark birthdays, the 50, the 60, it causes us to pause. I turned 50 this year, and it really does. You stop and you think, okay, what is the next 50 years going to look like, and what can I do to optimize that? And I think when we turn 50, turn 60, turn 70, it causes